Welcome back to the Chilliline Media Podcast. Boomer and Macau here. Today we talked with Jannis Schelenz, just sort of about how he came up into filmmaking, what he likes about films, and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, take a listen. Giannis has done over 20 short films, works currently in the industry. Second AC, he's camera operated some stuff, so he's our cinematographer guy.
He's our friend.
He's our friend. He's done all of the major projects that we've done. He's been attached to, and yeah, we love Giannis, so we thought we'd bring him back again and focus more on him.
Yeah.
So enjoy.
Watch, like, follow, subscribe. Do it.
You're welcome, Giannis.
Hi.
Yeah, Jannis.
How's it going, guys?
Welcome back.
I'm good. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Working a lot, but I'm good.
What are you up to?
I am working on a feature film right now up in Santa Fe that I am not allowed to talk about.
All right, fair enough.
Sweet.
What was that? Great.
It's exciting.
He signed an NDA.
Signed an NDA, so.
Yeah, so let's see. Where do you want to kick it off?
Well, Jannis, I think we kind of want to kick it off where you kicked it off. How did you get into filmmaking? What was your inspiration to start doing it?
Interestingly enough, I went to college. It took a while for me to go to actual college because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then through my brother convincing me, trying to get me to try some things, I fell into the media world over at University of Cincinnati. I went to Raymond Walters College and studied their electronic media program. Originally wanted to get into sound recording, like studio band recording, and realized quickly that I didn't enjoy it. Part of it was the program didn't really have didn't have the finances to make it a big, evolved, state-of-the-art sound program. But either way, I always drew a lot when I was a kid, so visual was more of something I wanted to follow. I guess I didn't realize that until in that electronic media program, I had to take a photography class. I had to take some web design classes. I had to take some digital design classes. Anything from, what is it called? Movie criticism and stuff like that, all the way to, what was the other one? Law, business and law of media. And then I had to take a video class, and they gave us VHS cameras and kind of, taught us some basic things, like each shot and where they cut off, medium, tight, wide, that kind of stuff. And then we had to do our first short film, and I had no idea what to do. We had a big offline editor, say about, the size of this couch. And, all analog.
Yeah.
And we recorded our footage. We made teams, and we tried to make this little short film, which I didn't realize how much work it was going to be, but I loved every bit of it. It was so much fun, and to see the final piece come together and then adding the music on there, and I ended up doing a lot of the work for it because I wanted to. And I don't know, I was like, let's try that again. And we did it again, and then I made some friends, and we started doing our own short films. And then I moved to, 2008 happened, and I lost my job. The whole...
Yeah, crash.
And... that's what I call it. So they laid me off, and I was in Cincinnati. My parents had already moved to Albuquerque at that point. They came down here, loved it, wanted to move here. And I decided, why not? During that time, I think Terminator was shooting here.
Cool.
Breaking Bad was still a thing and all that stuff. So I came down here, and funny enough, ignorant I was back then, I had no idea how to do this. But I came down here and I heard that Terminator was shooting at the airport. So I literally went to the airport to where the check-in counters are and everything, and I was looking around where is everybody? And then I realized, they're blowing stuff up probably outside on the runways and stuff, and out there, they're not gonna do it in here. And I even asked the security guard about it, and he was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then I also tried to go to the Netflix studio and talk to the security guy to just let me go, can I just go do a lap? I'm not gonna touch anything. I won't get out of my car. I just want to do one lap around to kind of look at it. And he's like, no. Yeah, and I tried that more than once, but they always said no.
Weird.
And I don't know, I ended up getting a job in audiovisual at the convention center, and then they lost the contract, so then I moved to another audiovisual company. they laid me off because they mismanaged their company and their finances. And then I got a job at the Apple store and went to CNM to kind of at least mess around with their equipment. And the program that they have is really cheap. And enjoyed it. My professor gave me one of my first gigs out in Phoenix to help with this documentary, and came back, got to know some locals here like Corey Weintraub and things like that, and they gave me some chances to help them out on their short films. Met some other people like Kingsley, and from there on just got to meeting people and made my way into the camera department, into the union and all that stuff. But for me, I wanted to be more creative than just a camera assistant on set. I wanted to have my own creativity. So I met some people here like you guys. You guys are some of the later people I met. I've been doing this for a while. But John Broadhead, we just finished another one up in the woods. Hopefully it turns out really cool. It needs a lot of sound design to really bring it to life. So we had a 12-foot monster that we built and puppeteered and stuff like that. It's really cool how it all came together. And then I also met Andy Kostelik, who's a local guy here. We've done about 13 films together, and from there on, I love it. And even though I'm at the age that I am, still working on the bigger movies as an assistant, slowly trying to make my way up there and operate more, and hopefully one day DP some stuff. Yeah. Not really interested in the big Hollywood movies. I kind of want to stay in the indie scene.
Okay.
I like the indie movies.
Why?
Because there's love.
Yeah.
There's love there. I just worked on one. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that one. But it was with
international man of
one of my
mystery.
favorite directors of one of my favorite movies, called The Way Back. I did a movie with them recently that is an indie film. Very simple story in the sense of locations and things like that. Emotionally, it's very complex. And one of the coolest experiences I've ever had on set, to watch two phenomenal actors just get it all out there, like in conversation, and emotions come and go. And it's interesting because the conversations are very emotional. And then you're a crew member and you're sitting in the corner, like hiding from the camera, right? With your like slate on your lap, and you're just kind of like, they're yelling at each other. You're like, don't look at them,
Yeah.
But it's so fascinating. At the same time, you're just like, oh my God, this is sounding amazing, And people are getting emotional. Even the crew is like, tearing up from the conversations they're having, and just phenomenal. And that's the feeling that I want from this career. I don't want, not to say that the Hollywood isn't cool. There's some awesome movies out there, but I prefer the simpler stories that are more close to home for people,
Sure.
I can't relate to spaceships and robots and heroes, and I can relate to mother-daughter relationship, mother-son relationship more, or anything like that, more than I can, or the struggles in life, everyday life. I mean, I grew up in Spain. I grew up on an island, on an orange orchard for the most part. And then I moved to Sunman, Indiana. And it was such a huge culture shock for me to come from a place where, it's an island in the Mediterranean to, Midwest America.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, and I did not fit in. It took me a long time to kind of find my place there. I did make some really good friends there, but it definitely wasn't what I was used to growing up. And then I moved to Costa Rica, which is, away from the comfort in Indiana of what I grew up with, to another place that's kind of in the middle, which is now a third world country. And then at the same time, Spanish comes back into my life, but I had the Castilian Spanish, and I have to transfer over to the more of a Latin dialect, and those kind of things just, I don't know. I find them important.
Yeah.
I find that, they shape you. They shape people and how they think, and the different people that you meet along the way that make you feel emotions and set the scene for something that you're like, oh my God, I had no idea this existed, And that's just kind of more what I'm after. Yeah. I'll stop talking.
No,
No, keep talking.
I love it. Do you find, so given that you kind of bounced around so many times growing up in different countries, different places, completely different cultures, did you find home work? Do you find home working on productions, on sets? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is there a level of comfort that kind of grabs, like,
To be on set and
to
be,
be on
be
set?
doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the more and more I do it, the calmer I get during the process, and you build confidence, you build your skills. I've had some people tell me, it's like, oh, you have a certain look, which to me, I guess I don't. You're always your worst critic. So when you see yourself, you don't see it like other people do. So I don't see what they mean by this style. I just kind of, the director wants this. If I have an idea, I'll throw it by them. If they don't like it, then fine, we move on. If I think it's really important, I'll try to push for it a little bit more. But if they don't like it, then we do whatever they want. And it's always, like I've mentioned, I think I've said this before too. For me, it's a collaboration of people. I got into camera. There is a gaffer, there's your key grip, there's your set dresser and your art department, and all these people. They all have they're here for a reason, and I kind of I always like to hear their input into things. I know that can probably slow this process down a lot to let everybody, but when it comes to that individual craft, I it's give that person a general idea of what you're looking for, and then like say a situation with a gaffer, it's like, oh, I want this from here, I want like my key from this side soft, and then give me something to edge them from over here. And then for me at that point, unless it's a specific thing, it's like dealer's choice on what lights you use. So do they want to use those specific lights? I don't even know a lot of the names of the lights. That's why I kind of, and I always thought that was, I always thought, like when I was younger, that was a problem with me, that I don't know all the names of the lights. And then slowly people kept telling me, it's like, well, there's different kinds of DPs. There is DPs that are very big in lighting, and they know specifically the lights that they want. And then there's other DPs who are more about framing, and the technical side of things. I want to say probably a balance of that is best, but there's so many lights out there nowadays. There's like, I mean, every set I come to, sometimes I'm like, oh, what's that? And it's a light that I already know, but it's been like modified,
Yeah, a lot of
and a lot of different ideas that they have. And it's that part for me has always been the tough one.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why I also enjoy that everybody kind of gets to have their input in it, because I feel like that's when that love and people are happy and people feel like they're making something that's meaningful to everyone. Not just, oh, I'm going to go collect a paycheck. But for some people, that is.
Excuse me. Sorry.
To some people,
son sneezes.
To some people, it is a job, right? To other people, it's a creative thing. They got into it for creative reasons, and other people just got into it because they enjoy the technical side of things. And to the it's a neat job to an extent. You're not in an office every single day, the same exact place that you see every day. You're out in a different location every time. Sometimes it's really cool and beautiful. Other times it sucks. And it's cold and miserable and it's wet and it's at night. You good?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm fighting the sneezes over here.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I don't know whether you remember what the question was,
No, it's
really.
all good.
Yeah, we love listening to you talk.
What I was going to say too, I know you don't see your own style, but if you hadn't talked about your own style, what would you say about it?
I've always been
Heavy.
No, I'm just trying to think of what I like. I mean, I love doing things on the wider end, like wider shots. That's where I have my most fun with, is composing a wide shot. If you look at Wes Anderson kind of movies, there's something fascinating about carrying out a whole scene in one shot. But not just that, like having the actors like come to a close up, right? And then it's all the focus. It's just focus rolling back and forth, kind of bringing her, I remember this scene in French Dispatch.
Sure.
And I want to say it's the prison story. Was it the prison? Where the female character kind of comes from the wide and comes to a really tight close up, right? Which brings everything else in the background soft. And then she moves back for just that moment to emphasize. And I don't know, there's something fascinating about that. I love color. So Wes Anderson always uses a lot of color. The Grand Budapest Hotel. It's just like so it's probably one of my favorites. Um, so I think in style wise, I always like the I don't know, wider
Yeah.
angles. That's what I enjoy doing. I mean, that's not something that's not enough for movies, but I think that I don't know. I guess I don't know what my style is.
Yeah.
One of the first things I noticed when working with you was your eye for symmetry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
More so
That
than,
comes
like,
into the wide. I like symmetrical wide shots. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was one of the first things that I picked up on versus like, like working with Morgan. I guess I haven't worked with very many DPs or camera operators, but Morgan, first of all, it seems like he likes to go with tighter lenses. I could be wrong, but
I would say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably right.
and I don't know how to really describe his look because he has his own little thing, but like for you, like symmetry.
Symmetry is big. Yeah.
Parallax.
I like that stuff. I like the movement of that. I like to. Oh, there was a movie. Was it called? One of the things I really loved, and I tried to do it in one of my horror films that I did a while back, and I may have mentioned it to you guys, but A Ghost Story, the movie A Ghost Story, again, indie film, super simple, and even though I didn't really quite understand it the first time I watched it, I was like, that was awesome. The fascinating thing about that, and there's two shots in particular that I really like in that, is there's a wide shot of a car leaving the house, right? And the car backs up into camera, and then the car drives off camera, and then you hear a car accident. They don't show it. And as soon as you hear that car accident, all of a sudden this camera starts to slowly pan towards it, right? And you see the aftermath.
Oh wow.
The same thing happens later in the movie where I think the lead female character comes into the house and then ends up in the kitchen, but the camera stays in the living room, and then you hear noise in the kitchen, and I don't know if it's the scene where she starts eating that pie and just keeps eating it, but eventually the camera, while you hear all this noise in the kitchen, eventually slowly the camera starts to pan to the right to show you what she's actually doing in the kitchen. And I don't know why I found that completely fascinating. And I tried to do that in one of my horror films to kind of add some tension. I think I did it once in there, and I think it worked out pretty well for the time that we had. So yeah, symmetry, I guess, is a good one.
So you've mentioned a couple different directors and movies that you found inspiration from. Do you find yourself watching movies and using that as inspiration for your own shots, or?
To an extent, I don't
Okay.
think that I specifically recall a specific movie or a specific person.
Yeah.
I think, look at it this way. I did a short film a while back in a spaceship, and we made a spaceship that was like octagon shaped, right?
Cool.
And then we needed a wide shot, so I ended up going with this wide shot. And then, people was like, "Oh, it looks a lot like Space Odyssey," and I'm just like, "Oh, that's right." But I didn't think of that in the moment. In the
Yeah.
moment, I was just like, "I need to set this up. I got leading lines. It's a long hallway. Why not?" And then, sure enough, I saw the clip from Space Odyssey later, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty much very similar, right?"
Yeah.
But in the moment, I'm not thinking that.
No.
So I would say that when I do see stuff on TV, I memorize. I don't memorize, but I think about the shot more than I do about like that specific movie and recalling that
Yeah.
same emotion that movie's trying to put in. So I'm trying to think of a film lately that really caught my eye. What did I see lately?
You've been busy.
I've been working a lot,
Yeah.
so I haven't watched much. I was trying to think of something that either my wife and I watched together that kind of. Oh, you know what? There was a movie. It was actually a TV show that was shot out here. Part of it was shot out here, called Them, on Prime.
Yeah.
It's a tough one to watch. It's got some pretty brutal things in it, but just absolutely beautifully done. The colors, the neighborhood that they picked. I'm guessing it was shot in California, and then there's a lot of, it's 1950s, I think, when some black families came from the southern states and moved to California. and they moved in some of these neighborhoods that still had covenants and had specific rules about that. And then it becomes a very kind of like thriller, suspense, horror a little bit in there, and just gorgeously done. You'll have to watch it if you want to see it. They just had a second season out, which I already watched. It was pretty cool too. But I can't come to one specific one. I like, my favorite movies are the indie movies. Little Miss Sunshine. I say this all the time. Little Miss Sunshine would be one of the top. The Way Back is like one of my favorites. That kind of emotion, I love it.
Interpersonal dynamics.
Coming of age, people figuring things out about themselves, actual issues in the world, humbleness, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Grounded.
That's a good one.
That's cool.
How often do you actually watch movies?
My wife prefers TV shows, so we end up watching a lot of TV shows, and we just watched Masters of the Air. My mom recommended it, and my wife liked it, and I was like, it's Spielberg's company. It's very epic looking, and it's beautiful. It's a little too Hollywood for me, too dramatic in that sense, but just an awesome story. And at the end, you just realize what that looked like to the people that were there, and it's just like you can't even imagine what those experiences must have been like. But when I watch movies, I tend to look for. A lot of times, I look for horror films. Horror is I think horror is a tough genre to do because it very easily comes off cheap and can be very cliche. But if it's done properly, there's something, and you'll laugh. A lot of people will laugh at me for this, but I love found footage. I think found footage is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's the closest to like the feelings that you got as a kid if you had a basement and you had to go get something down there by yourself, and you're just like, I think there's even memes about it where as soon as you turn the lights off, you think there's like 20 monsters and they're running, and you just run up the stairs. So when I look at things like found footage, that reality of it kind of, I remember watching Blair Witch when it was a big thing back then. I watched it in Costa Rica by myself, and the property my parents had purchased, and a little house that we built on it. And I'm by myself surrounded by rainforest. It's not the same kind of woods, but at the same time, we have these big windows, and I'm looking out, and the trees are moving, and then what's happening on the TV. And I just got really like, the adrenaline was just like, oh my God. And at the same time, I was like, people were making fun of the movie, and some people thought it was really well done. I think Paranormal Activity is also very well done for what they were trying to do. So found footage horror, I will always try to find that. I also watch a lot of horror later by myself because my wife doesn't like it. So she'll go to bed, and I'll stay up a little bit later and watch something that I like.
Best time to watch horror by yourself, dark at night.
Yeah, and it's, and my wife's like, how can you watch this stuff and then come to bed? No big deal. I just watch it. I was like, oh, that was fun, and then go to bed.
That's good. Do you like Cloverfield, that movie?
Yeah, it was fun.
Me too.
A lot of people made fun of it. I think it was great. I thought that whole series was actually kind of fun. The Paradox was also kind of...
Cloverfield Lane.
Cloverfield Lane was fun. It's suspenseful, which is what I like. And then I think there's Cloverfield Paradox was the last one.
I don't know if I've seen that.
It's a little more... I think it's a little more like on the... I don't know. If I remember correctly, there was a lot of humor in there as far as like things that were happening on the spaceship, right?
It was more like a action...
It was like a spaceship show where they were out in space while the monsters are happening on Earth, which is never really tied in at the end. I think the spaceship flies by, and then there's like a monster that comes up, and then that was it.
They hear like a radio.
So I keep wondering if they're ever going to make another one and maybe tie any of that together some more. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. Those little critters in the subway.
Oh gosh.
I think that's crazy. Like you walk around with a flashlight. Come on. It's creepy.
Yeah, I like found footage ones too. Did you ever watch the VHSs?
Yeah, I actually rewatched them recently. Some really cool stories.
Yeah.
There was also another one called Devil's Due was really good.
I haven't seen that.
Devil's Pass, I think is a Norwegian film that was really good.
Nice.
If you want to go with Norwegian film, Troll Hunter was a fun film.
Troll Hunter.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, no?
I have not.
Oh, treat yourself.
It's on Netflix.
I'm gonna
treat yourself.
I'm gonna add that.
Put it on, I never have.
Watch it because it's got some humor in it. I mean, it's in Norwegian, but it's a really well done. It looks like an indie film, I would say, that's had a decent post budget because the trolls look
Look pretty good.
I thought it looked pretty legit.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. And then you put me on a Sisu, and then I put them on a Sisu.
Yeah. I have.
Yeah.
Sisu was great. Yeah.
It was
This is cool. Super cool.
brutal but cool.
And that's about as like, I don't know if that's saying as Hollywood as I would go, but Sisu, I wouldn't consider that an indie film. That's obviously a bigger budget.
Yeah.
At least it looks like a bigger budget. I wouldn't know, but just a super cool story. That's just a fun ride.
Yeah. It's like a Scandinavian comic book.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could say that legend.
Yeah,
You know,
legends,
kind of like
yeah.
urban legend kind of thing.
So what would
Super fun.
What would it take to get you to do a big Hollywood blockbuster type film? Like what?
Fat paycheck.
Yeah.
You gotta pay the band. You guys gotta put all this out there. And I'm like, I mean, sure, money's
Yeah.
great. You know, you gotta pay the bills. I'll tell you what my goal is in life, and maybe some people will laugh. I just want to buy a chunk of land and have like a dog sanctuary. I know that sounds way off topic, but I
That
would
sounds
just
spot on.
No,
I
yeah.
just want to make enough money
That's great.
where I can get like a chunk of property with like hopefully a lake,
And just let dogs frolic.
and just get dogs. You know, there's a guy on Facebook that I follow, Asher House. Exactly like how he's doing it. I would love to do that. For that, you need some money, and that I do not have to be able to get into that. I know that people say like just go out and do it, but you do need some finances to do it right and to make these dogs comfortable. And I don't want to just like, well, let's go wing it. But that's kind of my end goal. So no, I mean, money's great and stuff, but that's not the end all be all. I mean, I've done 30 some short films, a lot of them for nothing. And I love it.
we know all about that.
And I love it. I love doing it. So I don't think I'll ever stop. But
That's great.
to get me to do a bigger film, I don't know. It would have to be something like there's. Do you guys ever see Minari?
Yeah, love Minari.
Is that considered? Would you guys consider that an indie film? That's like almost like on the edge, right?
It's like in between.
Because it's got some pretty big names in it, and well, I mean, a lot of indie films.
Like an indie.
It's shot like an indie.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I would need is
like
something.
40 million, but it's still kind of like A24. It is an A24 film.
A24 is.
It's starting to.
It's an interesting company because, I mean, I've worked on a few A24 films, and they're very much indie films. They're made at an indie budget, I would say. I think Civil War is probably the highest budget they've had.
Budget they've ever had.
Wow.
I haven't seen it yet, but as I know, there's a lot of talk about it. But they figured it out, you know. They make cheap movies with phenomenal stories, really good scripts, and probably get a huge profit off of them.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's. I don't want to call out to people, but you know, when you do indie films and they're in a tier level, your crew ends up making a very reduced rate. So that's the only downside, I think, for some crew members to work on these films, because sometimes the indie films, they still require a lot of work.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, because you don't have the money to get all the cool toys to make a specific thing work in the way it's supposed to, or make it a little bit easier on you, you end up, you know, trying to do that same thing with the stuff that you have available, which sometimes can become a little unsafe, maybe, or it doesn't come out quite right. I don't want to talk down on anything. It's still my favorite genre is the indie film, and especially A24 movies. I think they're gorgeous. I worked on When You Finish Saving the World with Jesse Eisenberg when they were here, and awesome experience, just phenomenal experience. But yeah, A24 seems like those kind of movies seem like the goal.
Yeah. Okay.
They also give like creative freedom still too. Like they don't like Marvel Studios and Disney and Apple. They're so controlling of every creative decision.
Yeah.
Versus A24, they're a little bit more willing to let creators be creators, which
Yeah.
ends up, in my opinion, you make better products.
Yeah, I mean, we had other movies here. We had Love Lies Bleeding that also was shot here. I hear it's phenomenal. I've gotten to see it. I have a lot of friends that worked on it.
Okay.
What else is? I think there's another one here right now that's shooting.
An A24.
I want to say there's one. I can't think of the name. But they make phenomenal movies, and they're
Is it
kind
the
of.
Ari Aster film?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
Eddington.
Eddington. That's what it's called.
They're currently showing. I have a lot of friends on that. You know, pretty awesome cast. I hope
Amazing
that
cast.
you know I'm a big fan of the. I was a big fan of the Shia LaBeouf movies. I think when he stopped giving a crap when what people thought of him.
Like
Yeah.
the Honey Boy era.
Honey Boy, American Honey,
Yeah. Watch that
Peanut Butter
recently.
Falcon was phenomenal.
Fantastic. My favorite
I have to
movie.
see that.
Not Shia LaBeouf, but Eddie the Eagle.
Haven't seen that.
That was a good one.
Awesome,
That was a good one.
awesome indie film. Those are the kind of movies I want to make.
Yeah.
Peaceful Warrior, that's also not him, but Peaceful Warrior is one of my favorite, also dear movies from when I started to really get into film. That was just like, I love the message this is giving.
So you see the guys like, you know, obviously the biggest
I was hoping you would ask this question.
DPs in the world, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, their names.
Frazier.
Hoyte van Hoytema, Greg Fraser, Roger Deakins. In your opinion, given your experience, like what separates? First of all, how do you get into that position for one? And two, is there anything that actually separates these guys? Like, you know what I mean? Or is it just they happen to fall in with the right directors, the right producers when they're young?
Done it long enough.
You know what I mean? Done it long enough. Because that's the one thing about like camera that I think is different for other departments is like the track is so long.
Yeah.
So you finally
For camera?
For camera. You know, like versus, you know.
I mean, I wouldn't say the track is not long for everybody else. I mean, look at you know, production assistants. They're
Yeah,
some of the
true.
hardest working people on set, and they have to get 600 days, and then they have to fill out this massive full. I've seen a couple. They're massive. I've seen some people have like 2 of them, and it's just all the call sheets and all the paperwork and probably reference letters and all that stuff. And then they have to send all this in, and then I've heard that they get back. It's like, oh, some of these don't count, and you have to bring some more in, and it's like, that's a long haul. I mean, I know some PAs on set, dear people, I love them. You know, they've been doing this for a long time, and they have some of the best attitudes sometimes too, and they're getting the brunt of it. You know, so I would say that everybody has a fairly long path to set yourself aside, like those big DPs. I don't know. I think to each their own path. I think it's love for making it, right? Will push you to take whatever opportunities you can, chances that you can. I do believe that you do see a lot of directors and DPs that work closely together often. So I do think I think that's important to have a good relationship and a trusting relationship. Like your DP with your gaffer, or your DP with your operators, or your director with your DP. You know, there are people that tend to, you know, form these groups that tend to work a lot together, and it just works. As far as how do you get to that stardom, I don't know. I'm not there.
Sure.
For me, it's and that's not what I'm looking at when I'm doing this. I know this sounds really like,
But I don't think you can. You know, you just gotta focus on work.
I just enjoy doing it, right? This last short film I just did, we were like our last day was 3 p.m. to I didn't get home till 5 a.m. on a Saturday, and I'm working on a feature Monday through Friday on either side of that. So I was pretty tired, but it was so fucking worth it. You know, it was so cool to do something. We all got together, friends. You know, I said that about you. You have all these friends that don't even work in film and came together and helped you make a short film, which is awesome. So that's kind of what I look forward to, is that specific project coming to life with that message being brought forward. Sure, film festivals are fun and all that stuff. It's always nice to win awards and things like that. But I think if you just keep doing it, you kind of find your path. You know, like I said, when I came here first, I went to the airport looking for a movie, thinking that they're just gonna let me walk up to like, hey guys, you know, that's. But I didn't know any better, so I did that, and then I met some people, and I went to CLM, and you slowly find your way up there, and you meet people along the way that click, and others that don't, and but I don't know what. I guess I'm not 100% sure what you mean by sets them aside. You mean from the rest?
Yeah, from the rest, or is it that they're that more talented? Is it that they've just been doing it longer? You know, that they film with the right people. I mean, I'm sure it's probably a combination of all those things. But like, do you see Roger Deakins' work now, and you go, oh, you know, that makes sense as to why he's that guy. You know what I mean?
For that specific film, like, do you have an example of what you
I
mean?
mean, doing 1917. Like.
I mean, that's a challenging production. I wasn't there, but I saw some of the behind the scenes. There's obviously,
Or Hoyta, when it goes from her to not Inception. What's the other?
Interstellar?
Not Interstellar. Well, he did Interstellar too, and then
Dunkirk?
Dunkirk, yeah. I guess he's kind of with Chris Nolan. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like being somebody who also was late in the game too. Like he didn't start doing it until his late 20s, early 30s.
oh, that makes me feel so much better about myself.
You know,
Because I didn't get into the camera things until I was like 27, 28 when I really like focused on it. I'm 40 now. I think a passion for it, making the best that you can with what you got. Not letting. I mean, for me, it's been. I've said it before, and I don't want to sound any kind of. I don't want to come off arrogant or anything like that. But you can have the best toys in the world, and if you're just not. You don't have that eye, or you don't have it in you, or you don't. It may not come out the way you want it. You can give some of the basic toys to someone who has passion and really can think of like, oh, if I do this and this and this, maybe I can, you can get one of the most beautiful things ever out of it. So I think a lot of it has to come with passion. I do believe that Andy and I have always, I think the one thing that we always, because we'll make a short film, we've done 13 together, and after every short film, once we've done it, we've had a screening for the crew, he and I will usually sit together and be like, okay, we gave ourselves some challenges. Did we overcome those? Like, try to be a little more on set, quicker on set. Andy challenged us with doing 3 short films back to back in 1 month. So 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, and then 1 week for like pickups and stuff like that. It was very challenging. In the middle of June, it was hot outside. And we're over here just doing 3 different genres. One was out in the middle of the desert, one was a boxing style film, and one was like a vampire style film. And we did a good job. And then the next films that we did, we wanted to challenge ourselves by making the cast a little bit bigger, like adding some more background and making the shots a little more, not so intimate between 2 people, because when you're in a short film, budget and time constraints. And I think the one thing that we always come down to is, what do we need more of? Time?
Sure.
Yeah.
Money.
That's all it is.
So I do believe that a budget can help with a lot of these things that you want to do, right? But without the creativity, I guess that money can also just thrown out the window. So I don't know. I think that's what makes it unique. Everybody kind of has their own path and their own way of doing things, and if it works, then I don't think you're doing it wrong, unless it's unsafe.
Sure.
Then that's a different story. But to each their own.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Find your own way.
Yeah, I drew a lot when I was growing up, and then my grandma gave me a little point and shoot little film 35 millimeter camera that I messed around with my brother on the farm that we grew up on. And there weren't great pictures, but I loved the action of doing it.
Sure.
And now I'm taking awesome pictures with my iPhone of my dogs and find it all over Instagram. And they're really good pictures, and they're
really
just
good
like, I'm
pictures.
literally just in the house like, oh, look at that, bloop, and that's it.
Done. Simple.
Couple edits and done like that.
Yeah. Do you want to ask him about your big AI question?
My what?
Your big AI question?
Oh,
Oh yeah, bring it up.
Yeah, we were talking about this a minute ago. And you said that you saw a thing for AI for cinematographers, and that feels like cheating.
I mean, that's what you say when the cameras aren't rolling, but sure. I mean,
I
to an
can cut it if
extent,
you
I
don't
mean,
want that.
with this whole AI thing, I'm not getting involved with it as much. Like, I don't go online and make myself look like an anime character. I think that's kind of where it started, right? These people making themselves look different. I've never done that. I did like the whole thing of like the picture that makes your old version of you. Like, I think I did that. That was the last thing I did of like of anything that
Did it
that
change?
Oh yeah.
I was just.
I looked like I looked like I was very hungry.
Oh, okay.
It was just very. Bleh. I've seen things now and then where the results are like, wow.
Yeah.
but then it hurts at the same time because it's so instant. And I don't know if that's playing into this instant gratification that we need to have in culture right now, where like, for example, I'll give you a few things. I follow another guy on Facebook, Sitting with Dogs. It's about a gentleman. I've just started following him, so I don't remember his name. But he goes into shelters and sits with dogs that are having a hard time
I've seen this
adapting.
guy.
And I will sit there, like sometimes on my lunch break, and just spend the whole hour just watching video after video. And he was talking one of them about the shelter being very loud. And I don't know if it was AI or not, but he said that there's an AI filter in his sound equipment. So he showed it off and on, right? And when it was on, you could hear him so clear, and everything else was being so muffled. And I don't know if that's actual AI or not, or if that's maybe stands for something else, but that caught my attention. And then I saw a little video of a guy wanting to make a logo for Mechanic that included Star Wars themed and stuff like that. And then he threw all these words in there, and it made this gorgeous logo with Darth Vader and like wrenches going across his chest. And I was like, that looks super cool, but all you did is type some words in it. Like the creativity isn't yours. Like, and there's a satisfaction there, right? To make it yourself, to come up with your own ideas. And I'm having a hard time typing in a few words and then just accepting what comes out, right? You just accept it, I guess, in a sense. I also saw it in a guy doing some Photoshop touching up some pictures where there was some chromatic aberrations going on the edges and some tree branches. And he was selecting it, and then he said, well, with this AI tool, you can now just click on it and it gets rid of the CA. And I'm just like, brilliant. Like, that's something I would probably use.
Yeah. So
Because it fixes something. I don't want to create something from scratch that in the end, the only input I had was a few words.
Sure.
Have you seen Sora at all? Which is like
I'm way out of the loop on AI.
Yeah.
It kind of scares me because I have a career in creativity, and AI is going to really impact
Sure.
art.
100% of it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
And I don't know where it's going, but it does make me nervous. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff's all worrying because we're all trying to do film and make art, and
I want to get together with people.
Yeah.
Like there's, I think I hope that never goes away. But that kind of like, intimate feeling of people, friends, people that you know, that you work well together, the energy on set of creating something that then you put all this sweat and tears and money and stuff into, and then you sit back and you're like, wow, look at this. So how cool is that? To do all that, maybe I'm going to an extreme, but you just have one person in front of a computer say, I want a movie that's an hour and a half long with these things in it, and I want the plot or the genre to be a thriller, and I want the twist to be whatever. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
That's what it's probably going to be, though.
Or even
that
just
stuff's
throwing a
coming.
script.
But at the same time, doesn't that make it boring? Doesn't at that point make it boring to watch TV? At least I feel like it would be for me.
In the back of my mind, I would be like, so we're hands on this, or does it cheapen the product knowing that it was 95% artificially created?
Yeah.
It happens everywhere. It happens, my wife is a teacher, and there's AI in colleges. It's making its way into colleges about how they, students do their homework and stuff like that, and it's tough. And I get it. I get it to an extent. You've been doing that? You've done some AI? You've done some...
No, he would
AI?
never. He would never. That's
Just
not
Dylan
him.
do it.
Dylan is your AI.
No, I mean, like, okay, for example, on Nick, what was the AI plugin that you used for sound?
It doesn't exist anymore, but it was called Goyo. It was like a beta. It was pretty early.
Yeah.
Like, this was 8 months ago. Was a sound suppression, so like noise suppression. So all the background from like in the park, I could just
And how did it
turn
work? How well
down.
did it work?
It worked great.
Probably blew your mind.
Yeah, I was like, oh, sick. I don't have to go pay for Ozone, which is like $600. and it was free, and I just turned down what I wanted, and then
That's probably
added
what
some
this
stuff
gentleman was
back.
using at the animal shelters,
so that
right?
kind of stuff is great because it takes time away that you
When
can
it-
focus more on creativity.
When it fixes problems for the right situations, you know, I mean, I'm obviously I'm a fan of animals and stuff like that, so him using that as a way to tone everything down so he can focus on this animal and can get this animal feeling good and being able to be adopted, great. You want to fix your photos, you know, even if you sell them, you know, you took the picture, oh, okay, there's some issues there, you use some AI to fix those, okay. When AI becomes the root of the idea, I don't know, man. Like,
That's where I would agree with you.
But
I don't
what
know
if,
if I don't know if it cheapens it, because I'm sure the product that comes out is like, whoa, and it doesn't look cheap. I think for me would be more like, I don't know, like I get excitement. For example, when the movie Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri came out. That's a long title. I always have a hard time getting it. It must be the languages. When that was announced and I saw the trailer, like I got excited for that day to come. I was just like, oh yeah, when I can just like go into my room in an afternoon and type in some stuff and watch some movie that some computer made, I think I'm gonna grow bored of it.
Sure. Well, like, how can you
That's sad.
create, like, did you see Dune 2 Part 2?
I have not.
It's a banger, and you
I
should
hear
see
it's
it.
impressive. Again, not my type of movies.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because it is
beautiful.
very heavy and it's a Hollywood film,
It is,
you know.
100%.
La La Land. That's a good
I haven't seen
This
it.
guy hasn't
He gives
seen
me
it.
shit about
that's a
It's
good
crazy.
idea of something that feels somehow indie in a way, but has a massive production value and budget behind it. I don't know what the budget really was, but you know, maybe those are the kind of movies. What was that one with the lady that falls in love with that fish monster?
Oh,
The Way
The
of
Shape
Water?
The Shape of Water, also super gorgeous French. I think it was, you know, good to Amelie. I think Amelie is an indie film. It's just absolutely gorgeous, you know. It'll be sad to know that this was created with no blood, sweat, and tears from a bunch of people
so,
creating
so
something.
you said if it solves a problem,
Yes.
but say I'm a screenplay writer, and my problem is I can't get anybody to fund my movie.
And then
I
you
can-
have AI make a
and then
script
I
for
can-
you?
No, I have the script. I can't get anybody to make the movie. I go into AI. I make the whole movie, an hour 30, my script.
You know how many people will do that though?
Yeah, true.
And how saturated it'll become with
Yeah.
people's own ideas of movies, whether they want to be made or not.
Sure.
You can just make them. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know
that's a
either.
big.
It's so weird.
It's a long discussion that we could have about all this, but I mean, you bring up a valid point.
Yeah, it's,
If you can't make it, would you just make it on your own by? I guess you literally just plug in that screenplay
Right.
and it makes visuals for you. I mean, for you, I think you'd be like, oh, great. I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know how the rest of the world will receive it.
yeah, right. It's
Stuff. It's so
Because, like,
game-changing.
I guess what you know, take it back to like what I call like more epic movies. Interstellar, we were just talking about. What was the other ones that you mentioned?
Dune Part 2.
Let's say Dune. You know, like those are big epic films, right? That only come so often, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think Gladiator was probably one of those, right? Every so often there comes that one movie that's like, and everybody's like, oh my God, amazing. Killers of the Flower Moon, I think, is in that realm, you know? And if you have everybody pumping that stuff out on their own computer, and
It saturates it.
it saturates it to the point where no one's gonna watch it.
Well, there's
Maybe?
already so much You're already competing for eyes as it is with social media. And TikTok
It's already
and
such a
social tech and YouTube.
cutthroat industry.
yeah.
To add something that makes it that easy to create something that, I don't know, I guess it's the difference of like having your house. Like, you ever find yourself on TikTok, whatever it is you're on, and you see these people that are building a hut in the middle of nowhere out of rocks and stones?
Yes.
Like, how satisfying is it to watch it? You're
So
not even
good.
doing it, and you're like watching, like, oh my God, right? And I guess if you don't care about the behind the scenes, then maybe that doesn't matter to you, but there's, you know, when that person is done with this hut, there's some pride there. So I'm like, yeah.
There's
And-
also a physical hut. Like,
There's a physical hut. There's not just some file sitting on your computer that now I don't know. Will distribution even be a thing anymore? Or you don't have to, if you can make your own movie and you can throw it on your YouTube channel, what happens to distribution?
Right.
I
And
mean, that's
theaters.
sort of already happening. too.
Right.
Like-
Well, I guess it is already happening. Like I said, I'm not that involved with it because it does make me nervous. And I'm trying to just focus on the good things and trying to get to what I want to do ideally. And sometimes I wonder whether that I'll get there or not because of everything becoming so automated.
Sure. Yeah, it's the biggest curveball.
You had to be a Debbie Downer, man. You brought this like
Well, okay, let me walk that back a
good at
little bit because while you were talking about this, I thought about like you say you don't like the big Hollywood movies.
I
And
do
I'm
like them. They're
well,
just not my favorite. Sure.
Yeah, sure.
not your
Yeah.
lane that you would either want to make or they're not your favorites.
Sure.
Is that in part because so much of it is done in post? Somebody's in a
Probably.
lab doing VFX, putting the
Probably.
giant sandworm in there. Because
That's probably it. You know, like I've I don't know if I should talk about it, but nah, let's not bring that up.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I
Yeah.
think that it not happening naturally on set, you know, like don't get me wrong, I've watched the Marvel. I did watch first Dune, and yeah, it's entertainment. But I don't know. Like, I mean, take a movie that went far.
Far in what?
That went far. That was fairly, you know, all done practically. Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah.
Let's take that one, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it has some CG in it, right?
A little bit.
But the lighting, like that lighting triangle that they did, that kind
was
of
cool.
goes through the people's faces as the camera's on there, like that's so cool.
It's practical.
That's practical. And how cool is that when those things work out, you know? And that's that energy on set, right? That worked out and everybody's happy and excited to work together. Like, yeah, we did this. Versus, you know, I mean, then you think about the raccoon. Was there a raccoon on the guy's head? The ratatouille.
Was it a raccoon?
Was there a raccoon?
I think it was a raccoon. Yeah.
I think it ended up being a raccoon.
In the movie, it's like the ratatouille thing, and it takes
With the
off chef's
ratatouille
hat.
joke where the chef hat comes off and it's a raccoon guiding the guy by the hair.
Kyle hates the
There's a
movie.
lot of stuff going on.
I don't hate it. I just don't think it should have won Best Picture.
I thought it was fascinating.
I liked it. It's entertaining.
yeah.
But
Sure, maybe
it's
not
like-
Best Picture, but it was all over the place. It was something fresh and new.
wacky.
I think Nope kind of hit that too.
Yeah.
A
Oh, yeah.
fresh new look on Western
Yep.
suspense, sci-fi kind of look, and really cool idea. There was another one I wanted to bring up. I mean, Nope is not probably the best thing because I'm guessing there was probably quite a bit of CG in Nope.
Yeah, probably. Spaceship. But I mean, that's
Yeah.
also part of it.
I don't know. There was another movie I had in my head just now that actually also won an Academy Award. I can't remember which one it was right now.
Recently?
I want to say fairly recently, in the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years.
Well, okay, another like Mad Max in 2015. Like most
Fury
of
Road?
that stuff.
Interesting you bring up Mad Max because I actually I got to work with some of the people that did a lot of the stunt car, the crane car.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
A lot of people call it Russian arm, that kind of stuff. And yes, awesome. Everything, a lot of it done practically. The people jumping from cart to cart and all that stuff. I had a hard time with the movie. I
really?
walked out of there with a massive headache because I think the theater, I don't know why it needs, I mean, the movie's already so loud. And then to have it, like the sound volume they have sometimes in theaters was just so over it. By the time I got out of there, I was just like, I need to take a nap. Or I just need to like,
Rest.
I needed, because I feel like overload for me. It was like, you know, some people say that, you know, found footage makes them queasy and makes them want to throw up. I have no problem with that. Mad Max, I started to get kind of like, get me out of here.
Then maybe it's a good thing you didn't see Dune 2 in IMAX.
Pretty hardcore?
Oh, yeah.
Hans
Yeah.
Zimmer went crazy.
You're just like sitting there.
Sure.
All of that is
Candies.
getting cut.
Yeah. Who's used there?
No, there was another one though. What was it? That really did everything
everywhere all at once?
Was it like really practical? Is that what
It
you're?
was very practical, and it made it so cool. I mean, you take a movie like Parasite,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of weird mixed feelings on that movie too. For me, the movie was a fun watch. Yeah, it's fairly out there, and
Yeah.
the ending for me wasn't like as awesome as I thought it would be. I think it kind of took a weird turn towards the end.
Yeah.
But what stood out to me, and again, it's that realness. You know, we've all been in a situation, I think, where everything's falling apart, and eventually you just sit there and you're like, you give up, right? So when that toilet, all that crap water's coming out of that
yeah.
toilet, and and the girl's trying to like, and then eventually she just gives up and just sits on it and smokes a cigarette, and it all just fucking, you know, like that
felt
scene
real.
for me kept like, yeah, that for me is like a cool story to tell.
And that's what I hope people value, because AI is going to further make its way into the space. But if that's the value people hold dear the most, then there will always be room for practical traditional
Yeah.
filmmaking. I hope.
Yeah.
But
I just had a thought of like post people, all these people doing all this CG stuff. When AI gets to like you're gonna make you can make your own Marvel movie at home
Yeah. Yeah.
with all the characters. You can throw DC in there. You can throw the Smurfs in there if you want. And then what's left other than I don't know.
There's got to still be some element of creativity that will matter.
I hope.
Right.
Fingers crossed.
It's just
Yeah, like-
everything is becoming so money, you know.
Yeah.
It's because the business is getting squeezed. I mean, you can't sell $20 DVDs at Walmart anymore. Where like that part of the economy's gone. And then even now, you go to theaters. Like we went and saw The Fall Guy at the Icon here,
Mm-hmm.
and there were 5 people in the theater.
Yeah.
On Saturday night.
Yep.
And that's what concerns me. That's what makes me a little
Yeah.
nervous and sad about it.
It's
Yeah. So
All
we
right.
went to that. We went to NAB and we went to a little AI. What was that party
It was
called?
an AI filmmaking party.
Yeah.
Hosted by Curious Refuge.
Yeah, and they had this like I don't know, like a competition on stage, and it was 2 teams, and they're just trying to churn out like the best AI image they can in the allotted time, and then it's voted on it, and it's
how much time did they get?
2 minutes.
yeah,
2 minutes.
And
I mean,
then-
see, I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
I've never generated anything in AI, so I don't know how
know
you
what
how
program
you
they were
I don't know how you
using. I have no
fine
idea.
tune stuff, right?
Yeah.
that you can. For them, they would literally like there was different ones where it's just like all text to image. So just typing in, there's somewhere you're drawing an image, and the AI is translating it into something else, also based on like your prompts you're giving it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was
Fascinating.
interesting.
Yeah, so they had these big long text prompts, and then they would draw like squiggles in one side on the screen in whatever color they were trying to make that thing, and then it would pop up with the like a rendered AI on the other side.
the
and it's
clean version.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they were
Do
just
the squiggles have to resemble what you're drawing
Well, it's
to an
like
extent?
it's context based because it would like there was like a little girl with balloons, and he started drawing like blue circles, and so some of the balloons started to go blue, and then he like drew more circles, and there were more balloons.
Interesting.
yeah, it
It was.
was.
trippy. And they were cool images for sure. But
Oh, I'm sure.
But it was just weird to see because we were sitting up on the upper decks. We were looking down on the stage, and you just see these 2 people just, and then of course the the
Image is
trigger.
constantly updated.
Yeah, constantly updated. But it was weird. I don't know what to make of it.
It felt like something that shouldn't be happening yet. Like,
Yeah,
futuristic and weird.
it's weird.
It's moving fast.
Yeah,
Moving faster than anybody you can't even stay.
Yeah, the concept of that, right?
It's the like exponential acceleration is happening, and it's impossible to keep at the front of it.
The key is
and be
exponential, right? Because
competent.
that number keeps getting higher and higher and faster
much
and faster. That, you know, and also like, will people still sit down and have conversations like this?
I have to believe so.
I hope so. I mean, there are still the successful podcasts out there, that, like doing 2.5, 3 hour
Yeah, I mean, I just like I guess I feel like it kind of promotes an antisocial kind of situation,
yeah.
Like, I mean, it's 150 people sometimes on set
Yeah.
Yeah.
coming together to work hard and make something cool versus three people sitting in a round table and they each got a laptop in front of them,
Yeah, right.
and they don't even talk to each other because it's all on a cloud-based network, so nobody has to ask for anything. Like, it's just
It's all just there.
Maybe the way we talk to each other itself is going to change.
Maybe
we
we'll
won't talk, it'll
communicate
just
with
be like,
movies.
Maybe we'll communicate with movies. That's crazy.
Hey, I made this 90-minute thing to express how I'm feeling. Watch it and answer me with your own.
Yeah. It's gnarly. I don't know where that's going. I hope the practical stuff still sticks around.
I hope so.
I think there'll be a like if you could. I think at one point it'll be similar to film, where if you can slap on, this was made practically. That'll probably have
Stamp
some.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like like retro kind of thing, like bringing back stuff, or
Retro, or just like the idea that this was made practically instead of AI, and that being like a novelty thing, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you find the people that want to spend the money on that,
True.
that's why I think it might. I mean, I don't know about the finances of filmmaking. I'm an assistant on set, and I shoot little short films with. I mean, I've gotten lucky. I've gotten to operate on a couple bigger movies and things like that, and those were done very practically, and it was awesome. Great experience. So I don't know if I don't know. I just keep going back to the money side of things. Will people want to spend the money to do something practically? Maybe once that kind of boredom creeps in that I'm thinking might happen when it's so oversaturated with all these homemade AI movies and stuff like that people are just like, ugh, I don't want to see another one.
Well, even today, where it's the most saturated it's ever been in history, you still go back to the same 15 filmmakers.
Yeah.
You're still watching the same 15 to 20 people over and over again because there's only so many people that get to that level for one, but then also can do it. Like, it's hard.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that's like I hope doesn't happen is that because it gets easier, it should be a hard thing to do because you get better results. And so I hope that doesn't. You know what I mean? Like you can't. It's like not everybody can be a professional athlete. It's hard.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
But AI ain't gonna make you a better athlete either, though.
That's true.
Right? It's unless exponentially, right? Who knows?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Maybe it will.
I mean, we all saw Limitless, right?
Yeah. Put a little brain chip in your head.
Who knows? Take this pill. All of a sudden,
You're the coolest ever.
you
All
can
of a
run
sudden,
really
you're
fast
LeBron
for 24
James.
hours.
Yeah.
Captain America.
Well, yeah, it's like the people want the Olympics, but everybody's allowed to use PEDs. Like,
I want that.
yeah,
Juice them up.
yeah. Juice
Let's
them up.
see.
Yeah, there you
Let's
go.
find out. What are the real records?
What are the limits?
What can we actually
There you
achieve?
go.
But what you were saying to people getting tired of the oversaturation, I kind of feel like that's happening a little already, just with like all the short form.
Oh
stuff that's
yeah,
getting popular.
attention spans and everything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't watch TV shows very much because I feel like TV shows have become. Don't get me wrong, miniseries, and
Yeah.
certain TV shows. I don't watch it anymore, but certain TV shows that take the format of like every season is a different story, like
Yeah.
American Horror Story or
Black
something like
Mirror.
that. Black Mirror. Black Mirror is like the exception, like the really cool side of that, because I think that's almost some of those films feel like it's where indie people really get to have their
Yeah.
first shot at something really cool and epic.
With a good budget.
So Black Mirror, I think Something Dreams. It's Amazon's version of Black Mirror.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Neon Dreams? I don't remember.
Okay.
Amazon has its own version of Black Mirror, which was pretty neat. Usually, especially when it's a really good TV show, with exceptions, I feel like after season 2 or 3, things start to get so forceful just to keep the story going. Like, whether that's bringing people back to life because, the audience really liked them. Now let's find a way to, let's make up some reason for why they didn't die. And, they're back, right? And now you're next season. And I feel like that was, I don't know, I grew up with TV shows like MacGyver and stuff, and I didn't feel like that was like that because it was just a different story every time, right?
Yeah.
There was an ongoing thing, but for the most part, every episode was like a different crime to solve or something like that. So I think that's changed in the sense of like, with exceptions, I did enjoy Game of Thrones. Um, that there's an end coming,
Yeah.
but there's some seasons that it's just written, right? And they just keep writing it and keep writing it. And it gets so absurd at times where I'm just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch this anymore. It's getting to be. I just watched one with my wife, where good show and I really enjoy it and I watch it every time that they had a new season. I'm not gonna bring it up. I'm not gonna bring it up.
Well, I feel that way with TV shows a lot too. I'll get 3 episodes in, and if I feel like it's going to be one of those TV shows that's just like repeating itself and bringing back, I'll just stop watching. And
Yeah,
it,
I hear you.
yeah, it
I
gets,
don't. I just can't do it anymore. Like,
you look and it says 8 seasons, and you're like, what? That's
I mean, I think
80
that
hours.
works for sitcoms, like Friends and things like that. Great comedies.
20 minutes,
yeah.
What's that?
These are 20 minutes.
Sure.
Put the funny characters in situations. Yeah.
But the neat thing is like, like for example, Them that I just watched.
Yeah.
The first season was very gruesome and spoke a lot towards racism and things like that. And then there was also supernatural aspect to it. The second season I thought it was a different story. The whole season, I thought it was a different story. It was more supernatural. Then at the end, they tied it in with the first season. And I was like, okay, it felt a little forced at the end,
Yeah.
but because it wasn't dwelled on for so long, it was just like, okay, this is actually this person from season 1, okay, and moving on. Now, I'm interested in season 3 to see which direction they go to, because they might go into a slightly different genre again, or type of plot. There's miniseries I love, Chernobyl on HBO. God, I love that.
Have you seen Shogun?
I have not seen Shogun. That's
One
Fox,
season.
right?
On Hulu.
Hulu. That's one of the best miniseries that I've seen,
Really?
maybe ever.
I did see I saw the kind of like teasers, trailers for it, and I thought it looked gorgeous and
They do
amazing.
some really creative stuff, cinematography wise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe it.
A lot of casual audience fans didn't really like it because they did a lot of anamorphics, so you get like these weird
Oh,
focus
cool,
blends,
cool,
blurs,
cool.
which I think is super cool. But a lot of people didn't like it, or like the swirls that you get.
Yeah, to each their own. Some
It's
people
also
are cool.
largely in Japanese. So
Yeah, it's a lot of reading, right? A lot of
Yeah.
subtitles.
Yeah.
There was for example, there was a German show that kind of had a big hit called Dark. It was kind of a big hit.
Oh yeah.
Like there were moments in that movie, or it's just in that first season, where it's just like no way, and where I didn't see it coming. Just well done, extremely well cast. A younger version versus the older version of the characters, right? It's a time travel kind of show. I think this casting was really well done, and just you followed along. And then the second season started, and people told me it's really, really good too. But it's interesting because the second season starts almost like the first season. I only watched 1 episode. But in this case, instead of being the boy that wakes up in his room, it's a girl that wakes up in a similar kind of room, and that whole kind of story starts to unfold again, and you don't know which way they're going, and then you can probably get into parallel universes and all that. But because it started so similar, I had a hard time watching the second season again,
That's interesting.
because it started so. For some people, it's like, oh wow, they're doing it again, but in a different direction. For me, the first season was enough. Oh, a great show, highly recommended, on Amazon Prime, called Tales from the Loop.
Yeah.
There's only 1 season. I have a feeling they're probably not going to make another season, and it might just get canceled, or maybe there wasn't supposed to be any more seasons. But just beautiful story, beautifully done, way out there, and like futuristic parallel universes. Fascinating. There was also the new Constellation on Apple TV, was also very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Again, if they make like sometimes they make 1 season, and I'm like, that was so good, and then they come out with a second season, it's almost disappointing.
Yeah,
Like it was so good, just don't go any further. You know, sometimes they succeed, but often, like they're doing Back to the Future again. You guys
Yeah.
saw
Are
the
they really?
teasers for the yeah.
Back?
Is it Tom Holland is playing?
Oh, that kind of makes
Marty
sense.
McFly? No way.
But
I think
then
it's a
again,
good
looks
fit.
like-
It's a good fit.
It is,
Good
but
fit.
it's
Michael
just
J. Fox.
it's-
Back to the Future is like, in my opinion, it's like a perfect film. Like the first
Right.
one is like a perfect
Yeah.
film. Why touch it? Why mess with it?
They're all three together are awesome films. Do we really want a fourth one to mess it up?
the money.
Maybe it's awesome. I mean, look at Matrix.
Sure.
First three or four,
First three, and then they did
amazing.
Resurrection.
Resurrection.
And then this new one, a lot of people were like, "What?"
Star Wars 7, 8, and 9. That's how I feel about it.
I mean,
All right.
anybody,
Well, that's-
anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if
A
you
lot of Star Wars.
milk that, I mean, paranormal. I talked about Paranormal Activity earlier. I love them.
Sure.
They just Paramount just recently. I don't know if they bought the rights to it and made another one. It's terrible.
There was like 8 now or something.
No, I don't know if it's that many, but the first 4 or 5 that were done back then, and now this new one, it's absolutely bad. I mean, I didn't enjoy it. Like it was missing everything from the other ones, right? And sometimes you just don't want to. Beetlejuice is coming, right?
Yeah, which I could.
I'm very excited. That's a Hollywood film that I'm very excited to go see.
Sure.
It's all the original people, it seems like, you
Yeah.
know, and then the kind of remix of the song that they threw in there in the teaser was really fucking nostalgic and cool. So on the nostalgia side, I think it'd be cool to see that.
Again,
Yeah.
do it again.
But it could be terrible.
Yeah.
And then what? Does it affect
The
the old Beetlejuice? Now nobody watches that, and I don't know.
We're
too
running
many
out of
times.
ideas.
Yeah, well, I mean,
That's it. I think we're running out of ideas. And
Well, there's only so many stories, right? Like everything's a variation of some story that has come before.
yeah.
Like there really
Sure.
aren't that many ways to make characters interact.
I mean, I think it's neat to see the history playing more of a role because there's more things. Like I'm working on a historically accurate thing about what happened in California, so I'm not going any further than that. Huh?
NDA.
Yes, NDA. So I think that there is more room for the true stories to come out,
Yeah.
How's that?
and especially if the people that were actually in it have an involvement in it and really can express what that was like. I think there's a neat, stories that I don't know how true they are, but based on historical events like Killers of the Flower Moon, very Oppenheimer, right? A version of that's sure hyped up a little bit with Hollywood and stuff like that, but still a very powerful story that everybody can relate to. So I think that there is more room for that now. I mean, not to say that those weren't done before, but because the sci-fi side is getting so big, Marvel, DC, Dune, Star Wars, all these things that I think that I'm hoping that a highlight would come from the real stories out there that are done on a more practical level
Sure.
that hopefully bring that side of cinema back that I would like to be a part of
Yeah.
more than a green screen.
Yeah. So.
A lot of green screens on set.
Yeah.
A lot of wires, a lot of ropes and stuff, and it just, I don't know, I feel like it's cool to see, and it's like, wow, how epic is this? And fun to be a part of, but it's just not, I want,
The real
NAB was just covered in LCD screens.
LED volume.
Yeah, LED volumes.
oh yeah?
And LCD. Yeah. And it was crazy how many booths there were just selling their version of the volume.
Seems like
yeah.
every 1 in 5 companies.
Oh, had a screen, a volume wall that
There
they wanted
were
to sell?
lots of them, and I took the time to go try and talk to them and figure out why are they all selling them?
Yeah.
How different can LED panels be? Because you're just lighting up little diodes on
Exponentially technology, you don't
Yeah,
know
right.
what's
17K
coming. Like,
apparently.
who knows what someone might come up with? I mean, I go online sometimes, and even just going through social media, there's stuff that pops out. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
You know,
that now?
inventions. This can be done right now. I don't know. I don't know if there's a version of that also that helps humanity kind of think outside the box more.
Sure.
Like you see all these you go through TikTok and stuff like things you never knew that you could do with the stuff in your kitchen, right? And how to fix things, right? That I spend a lot of time on. Besides, animal rescue videos that I watch nonstop. I watch a lot of the. Yeah, life hacks. Yeah. Like that's kind of a neat thing of like getting information out there. Things, I save them, and then when I get to that situation, I'm just like, how do I do this?
Yeah, right.
And
that was one of the coolest things that I realized about TikTok that I never thought about it. But I was talking to Mia one day, and I was like, "You using TikTok like Google?" Like, yeah, you have a question for anything you want, you can literally see somebody do it.
Yep.
In a way that you can't do it with Google. And I was like,
I'm literally way off subject because we probably should be wrapping up. I'm going over to my mom's right after this to help her fix a leaky tub faucet. And, my mom called me yesterday and said, hey, can you come over and help me with this? And I'm just like, I mean, sure, it should be fairly easy if it is the cartridge inside that I need to replace, unless there's more damage in there. And at some point, it's out of my wheelhouse because I'm not a plumber. But, a lot of times what I end up telling my mom, and for some reason for her, it's not her first thought, right? When she's confronted with a situation like a leaky tub, her first thought is not, and this is a generation thing, it's not to go on YouTube and find a fix-it video. It's to kind of like call the kids and like, can you help me? And then, I remind her every time we're on the phone, it's like, look, these things can be very easy. If you can't wait for me, you want to get it done, there's tons of videos, right? And then funny enough, she sent me a video of a complete like replacement of pipes inside the wall. And she's like, I don't know, I think you should come over. I don't know if I can do this. I'm like, wow, you're going like way overboard.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to rip out the wall and check the pipes. We're going to start with the simple thing, which is the cartridge that's inside your pipe in the faucet that can, we'll start there. And then so I sent her the right video because what she sent me was like almost like a whole bathroom remodel. And it's interesting how that works, that this technology is advancing. And I'm starting to feel like I'm 40 years old. I'm starting to feel like I'm falling behind a little bit. I feel like AI is that thing that I will talk as a grandpa to my grandchildren about. I was like, back when we had to take pictures like this, and we, film was still a thing, and we carried the cameras out there and put them up both ways uphill in the snow, kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
And I feel like AI is kind of like, at least from my generation, maybe that's not right because I think we also, our brain is developing exponentially also with that. But I noticed that I can't play video games anymore, the newer video games. There's too many buttons. There's too many things going on in combinations that I've stopped playing video games. I'll play Super Smash with my brothers sometime. That's about it. Yeah. I look at like now there's 4 buttons up here. There used to be only 2, right?
Yeah.
When you had the Nintendo back then. There
your
used to
main?
not be any. Was my main?
Yeah.
In Super Smash?
Yeah.
Back when it like older Super Smash.
Yeah, I need to know.
Older Super Smash, I was using Fox a lot.
Cool.
Then I had a very long run with Sheik. I loved especially the little rope that you can just fling at people constantly. And then recently, when I do play with my friends, I don't have any friends. With my brothers, I only play with my brothers. We'll get online sometimes and play, and I'll use Marth.
Marth. Okay, cool.
I like Marth.
So Marth is kind of the one my default now.
Yeah.
I like Donkey Kong. Banging on my chest. Yeah. That's who I am.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you kind of look like him.
Big. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Huge compliment.
Big strong.
I love bananas.
I bet you do.
Yeah. What is it? All right.
Awkward silence.
All right.
So yeah, I think our brains are developing too, but it's interesting to see that separation, and I feel like this AI might be a start of a new generation technology in relation to humanity, where like the newer kids that are, growing up now will be like, oh, this is super easy, like looking away, getting it all done,
Yeah.
versus us will, maybe one day I'll be the one that has to like, type like that in it relatively
Or typing
speaking.
at all. They'll probably be like, "You're typing?"
Yeah, you're still typing. I just think of it and like, look at this helmet I'm wearing, and it's like, and then instantly, like I think there's some really cool things. Like I wanted to get this for my grandma, and this is, I don't know where this falls into what we're saying, but I saw this digital picture frame you can buy,
Oh yeah.
right? And you can give it to someone in your family, and it comes with an email address. So everybody in the family can take their pictures and email them to that email address, and they just cycle through on her digital screen and her. Right. There is that. Depending on your friend. I was thinking about this for my grandma.
Yeah. And you're a
Because
sweet
she lives
man.
in Germany and my brother lives in Berlin. I live here. You know, my cousins are starting to wander off and explore the world. So we wanted, you know, I thought it would be a good idea, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I feel like it might work for a week and then the first glitch happens with it
Yeah.
out there in Germany and it's just gonna sit there.
Need the
Because she
software
doesn't
update.
know what to do. She does not if there's a soft. So I don't know. I don't know where this is all going, but I feel like I'm getting way off track with this conversation.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
We just have a conversation.
Yeah.
Get familiar with each other.
Stop that.
The weird look you guys just gave each other.
And on that weird look,
And we are done.
I think that concludes the Line Media podcast episode, whatever. Yeah?
Giannis number 2.
Yeah, Giannis
Number two?
Yeah,
First repeat?
Oh, that's right. We did the wobbly
bring-
one with the
Yeah,
Yeah, that
with the
one.
wobbly video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to bring him back to talk
Take
more
two.
about focus on him, not just Nick.
Yeah.
Nick likes to see the spotlight. Nick Lowe, that is.
Boy does.
Ah, he's a cool dude.
He is cool. I like that.
Thank you.
He could be here right now. We always have him come in at the end to kind of, you know, liven things up a little bit.
But yeah, man, thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks for having
thank you
me.
so much.
Great, I love it.
I hope you guys, you know, looking forward to new work. If I can help in any way, I'd be happy to. I know you mentioned right before we start recording about some really cool idea, practical idea.
Practical idea. Keep it real.
Yep.
We go out there.
Yeah.
Let's drive out there and do it
make it happen.
and have fun. Because those, like, how many memories do you have? Awesome memories from these projects
Well,
that
I
you
think
do.
about it every day.
Right.
Every day.
And when it turns into being a person on a computer by themselves, just writing a whole scene into a computer that creates the image for you, what is it? Oh, you know, that one time I was writing and I spilled a Mountain Dew on my laptop,
right.
and I was like, oh, and it's not.
I was
not
writing
a-
a
I
prompt.
don't want
and it
to.
was
I don't want
funny.
to fight it because that's a losing battle. It's
Sure.
gonna happen.
It's
But
gonna happen.
if there's
Take
enough
it to-
people who can stay in the space that keep doing good work,
Take it the right way.
take it the right way and guide it.
I mean, look at that. Polaroids are coming back, right?
True.
The whole Instax is
Yeah.
coming. You know, there's some things that are coming back. Records are still a big thing, right?
Yep.
You know, actual records, vinyl records, and you have VHS. I mean, some people still have VHS collections and stuff like that, which I don't know.
But there's an aesthetic in all of those things.
Yeah.
That people are nostalgic for, that people still look to. I mean, hearing Otis Redding on a diss track, like that's, you can't beat that.
No.
Spotify can't you know.
Sure.
It's just the sound.
Yeah, but you also can't have your record player in your car while you're driving to work,
That's a good
right?
point.
So you end up listening to that more,
Sure.
right? You have digital headphones that you can't hook up to. I mean, I guess they have Bluetooth record players now and stuff like that. But you know, some things are coming back. They don't stick around super long. I think film is still, you know, film had a comeback. You know, Star Wars and all that stuff. That had a big comeback. There's a lot of other movies I shot. I did a movie on film. I did it myself. I went back to loading just to get the experience of film because I never really got to load film because that's just not that popular of a thing anymore. But all that stuff comes back around, you know. I think people say it's like if you keep your clothes long enough, eventually you'll be the first one in fashion,
Yeah, right. That's true.
you know, kind of thing. So
Well, alrighty.
I'll leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
Yeah, great.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks.
Tune in, like,
Yeah.
subscribe.
This was not done in AI.
Yeah, this
No.
is real.
It's a
is
real
very real.
conversation. We are real people.
I was just making sure.
Yeah. Okay.
You never
It's not a
know.
hologram.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
Okay.
likeness is
That's a
real.
wrap.